Hey everyone, how are you guys? Welcome back to another video in this dating series, and this was highly requested since I did my previous video on this topic, but I'm going to talk about the best questions to ask on a first date. Now, if you are new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. Please hit subscribe if you enjoy my videos and hit the notification bell to be notified when I post. Also follow me on Instagram if you want to keep up with my everyday life. But if you haven't seen my previous video called Worst Questions to Ask on a First Date, I will leave that up here on the screen and linked down below as well. Check that out if you are interested. But today we're talking about the best questions to ask on a first date, and this was highly requested and I'm really excited to bring this to you guys today. Now, I want to start off by saying that everything that I present in these videos, they are my opinions, my thoughts, and not everybody's going to agree with me, and that's okay. Also, I do want to mention that these are just some of the questions that I really like to ask or to be asked on a first date. And I think they're really good questions that really shows a person's personality. And on a first date, that's what you're trying to do, is try to get to know that person. And, you know, first dates can last 30 minutes, 3 hours. It just really depends, and you really want to ask the right questions to see if you are compatible with this person or if you're not. And if you're not, that is okay as well. So that is kind of the whole point of these questions. Before we get into it, the obvious point is that these are just select questions that I find that are really great on a first date, and there are hundreds and thousands of questions that are great that you can ask depending on your personality and what you particularly enjoy or like or want to know from someone. So I'm not saying these are the only questions you should ask on a first date. These are just the questions that I find that are really helpful for me in the first date setting. So I have my notebook right here. I have all my ideas written down, and looking at this right now, I have 5 different categories that I typically like to try to touch on when I'm on a first date and I'm asking questions, or they're asking me questions. So yeah, I'm going to go over this in depth with you guys. All right, so let's just jump right into this. It's going to be a pretty long video, I feel, and yeah, just to let you know, there's no particular order to this. Every first date is very different. If you are doing more of an activity date or if you're doing more dinner date, I feel like these questions are mainly more for a sit down, drinks or dinner or coffee type of date, because you're having a one-on-one. If you are doing an activity date for your first date, which I love activity dates. I love, whether it's axe throwing or ping pong. I'm a big ping pong person. Or anything that you have to be physically into, that is an awesome first date. I highly recommend dates that are activities because it really breaks the ice and it really kind of shows the other person's personality as well. So, okay, the first category that I have written down is hobbies. I personally feel like what a person does on their free time shows a lot of their personality, because what you do for work is work. Typically, it's what pays your bills, and not everybody loves their job, which we'll get into that in a little bit. So right off the bat, asking someone about their hobbies is a really good way to gauge their personality and what their aspirations and goals are, which again we'll get into. But I love to ask people what they do for fun, what do they do on their free time. And for me, answering this question, it would be, oh, I love to edit videos, I love to film videos. This is what I do on my free time. And I feel like when someone hears that I do YouTube and I love to edit and I love to film and be on camera, it shows a lot of my personality as well. So when I ask someone that question, I'm so curious to see what they would say. So asking a question about hobbies is a really great way to get to know someone on a more personal level, because it's something that they really enjoy. For example, when I first met my ex from years ago, he was really into bourbon and he was really into collecting that. I thought that was so interesting, and it's something that I never would have guessed because I just met him, and I thought that was a really cool hobby. Everyone is so different, so it's really interesting to see what other people are actually into. And yeah, I think hobbies is a great thing to bring up on a first date. All right, the next category of questions that I have is family and pets, and something that's a little bit more personal. So some people don't like to get into the whole family questions on a first date. I don't think it's a big deal. I think it really, again, shows how a person views their family, feels about their family, and this is also a great way to gauge if you should even bring up family again in the future if you're going on a second date or a third date, because it really gauges, what topics you can touch on later on. So just for an example, I live in Philadelphia, so every time I go on a date out in the city, whether it's for drinks or anything like that or dinner, I always ask the person, you know, are you originally from Philadelphia or whatever city you're in, you know, are you originally from here? And that really opens the gate to get to know where they're from, and that's where you can kind of play into the family questions as well. From my experience dating in the city, I realized that a lot of people are transplants. They're not originally from Philadelphia, so that really opens up, you know, where are you originally from? Is your family local? Do they live out of state? Are you close with your family? And that's a really easy way to open this gate, because some people don't like talking about their family, but if you ask them where they're from, and then you can kind of gauge there, like if they get a little bit more closed off when you're talking about family, you can kind of back off on those questions. I'm really good at gauging a conversation, so asking the question, are you originally from here? Is your family local? That kind of plays into if you should go deeper into it. And if you do, which I feel like most people that I've gone out with, you know, are really open about their family. They're like, oh yeah, my family lives in Florida still, and I'm here. And then I'm like, oh, do you visit them often? And then they'll let me know, oh, I visit them like 3 times, 4 times a year, and that really tells you that, oh, this person values family time and wants to see their family a lot because they visit them quite often. And then sometimes the answer could be, oh, I haven't visited my family in 5 years. That's where you can kind of gauge, like, okay, no more family questions, because if the person hasn't visited their family in 5 years, they probably don't have a good relationship, and that's not something you want to kind of dig into. Also, if you are gauging that they are really close with their family, I love to ask if they have siblings. And I have a sibling myself. I have a brother, and my brother and I are very close, so I always like to know if the person that I'm on a date with, you know, do they have siblings, and are you guys close? Because, you know, my brother and I's relationship is really strong, and, you know, it's really nice and comforting to know that if I'm going to date this person or go out on another date with them, and that they're also close to their siblings and family, it's very comforting for me. I'm a big family person, and I personally would like my significant other to be a family person as well, and value family time and visit their family. It's a big thing for me. And, you know, if it's not for you, if you're not close with your family, don't ask these questions. Ask something that you're interested in, obviously. But for me, family is a big thing. You could also play, if you're a big animal lover, you know, do you have pets? Do you have a dog? Do you have a cat? Did you grow up with having pets? If you're not big on family questions, do the pets questions. Again, very light, very easy questions, but again, it tells a lot about a person's personality, if they like animals. So that's another good one to play up on a first date as well. All right, the next category of questions that I have here is job and aspirations. I always like bringing this up on a first date because, again, it helps me gauge what kind of person they are. Now, I feel like on a first date, it's pretty typical to ask, you know, what do you do for work? Because everyone works, typically, I mean, depending on your situation, but it's a question that's going to come up often if you met on a dating app, which I feel like that's how people are meeting, you know, typically, then their job might be already written on their profile, so you can kind of play off of that as well. So starting the conversation, you could be like, you know, if on their profile says that they're a lawyer or that they're an electrician, you can be like, oh, what's it like working, you know, as an electrician? Do you do more, you know, household? Do you do more commercial? Or being a lawyer, you know, are your hours crazy? You know, do you enjoy your job? And that is a question that I think everyone should ask on a first date. To me, it's very important. And I say that because, not because it's a label, you know, whether you are a lawyer or a doctor or an electrician or a trash man, like, I don't care what your title is, and I'm not asking it for that reason because I need to know your title. For me, it's more, your job is something that you do every day. And I would like to know if you enjoy doing this, because if you don't enjoy your job at all, that means you are miserable every single day. And that's something that's really hard to work through as a partner if, you know, your significant other hates their job, because it's another thing that's putting stress on your relationship. But yeah, asking, you know, if the person enjoys their job is is a very valid question in my opinion. And I always ask every person I go out with if they enjoy what they do every single day. I think it's very important that you at least enjoy it. It might not be your ideal situation, which I understand because most people out there are not in the position where they absolutely love what they do, and I get that. But I would at least like to know if they enjoyed what they did on an everyday basis. Now, another question that I really like to ask as well, kind of in the whole job realm, is about their aspirations and their goals and their dreams. Because a big question I always love to throw out there is, if you could do absolutely anything that you enjoyed and that you wanted to do for the rest of your life, and you made the same amount of money that you make right now at this mediocre job that you have, that you're content with but you don't love, what would that job be? And that really shows, again, more of their personal hobbies and their personal interests. So I always like to ask that question. It really opens up the door to talking about your goals, your dreams as well, and to see if they really do align or not, or if they find it interesting, or if I find what their dream is interesting. I've gone on so many dates where people have such amazing dreams, and just unfortunate situations, they're not currently going towards those dreams, but to know that they at least have that in the back of their mind, or they have something solid that they know that they would enjoy to maybe pursue out in the future or down the line, I find that very attractive personally. Although you're not doing it right now, the fact that you have something specific in mind that you would absolutely love to do if it came to it, and you made the same amount of money, I think that's very interesting, because I have a lot of goals and aspirations myself. So. All right, the next category of questions is about travel and food. So if you've watched any of my previous dating videos before, you guys know I like to travel. I went on a date with this guy, and he had zero interest in traveling, and that is just not my person, and that's okay. And that's what I told him too, and that's what I said in the video. But I love to ask people if they like to travel, or what their thoughts on with traveling are. International travel as well, because some people surprisingly are not into it, and that's fine. But for me, like, you're probably not my person. Like, I want to see the world, I want to travel the world, and my ideal vacation is to go to a different country and explore and learn about the different nations and stuff like that. So travel is a big thing for me. If it's not for you, you don't have to ask that question. It's probably not a good question on a first date for you, but for me it is. And it, again, tells you a lot about their personality and how open they are, which leads me into food. So one of my biggest pet peeves, especially on a first date, is if a guy is very, very picky about food. I love trying new food, and I'm always interested to know if they are as well, because being Asian and having an Asian mother, she really does expect my significant other to try her food and try her cuisine. And if I'm dating someone that won't even try an egg roll or a Vietnamese dish that my mom has prepared, that is not going to work. That's not going to fly. I love it when people are also on the same page as me, as try new foods, try anything once type of thing. Even if it's a little bit weird, I will try it, especially food-wise, because food is a huge gateway into knowing and understanding a culture, and that again plays back into travel. So if someone is an extremely picky eater that only eats burgers and fries and pizza, which I love all those things, I eat all those things too, but if that's all they eat and they are not open to trying other foods, that's a big downfall for me. That's not my person, and that's okay. The last category of questions that I typically bring up on a first date, not all first dates honestly, but social media. So I know a lot of men, especially older men, are just not into social media, and I think that's perfectly fine, that's perfectly valid. But for someone like me, I'm on YouTube, I like to be on Instagram, I'm pretty, big on social media. I like social media, and just knowing if they're comfortable with that, that's a big thing. And again, this is probably not a question that's, you know, for everyone, because not everyone is on YouTube, but some people are not comfortable, you know, if their significant other is crazy on social media and puts a lot of their life on social media, and I get that. So if someone's not into YouTube and me doing YouTube videos, you're not my person either. So I ask social media questions, and again, it's a very light question. I ask them like, how do you feel about social media and this and that, and then I kind of just play into what their answer is, and so be it. So again, not a question that is for everyone, but for me it is very important. And obviously, you guys, my biggest tip for asking questions on a first date is ask what you are interested in and what you want to know. So if you love books, ask, you know, what's their latest book that they're reading. Or if you're a huge music buff, ask all about music, types of music, genres, all of that. If you're a huge movie buff, ask what their, you know, the latest movie they saw was, or their favorite movie. I love movies as well, so I sometimes dabble into whole movie questions, scary movies, documentaries, just see what they're into. There are hundreds and thousands of questions, good questions you can ask on a first date. You really need to tailor them to what you are interested in knowing and what you want to get out of this first date. A first date is nerve-wracking. It can be awkward sometimes, but you need to get in and out. And when I say that, you need to get these questions answered that you're really truly interested in. And the ones that I listed for you today were pretty much targeted and tailored to me. And if you have a personality like me, you might take these questions and run with them. But if you are little more shy or low-key, or you know, there's other questions you'd rather ask, then so be it. This is just a guide for you guys. If you want another round of categories of questions you should ask on a first date, let me know. We can maybe do like a part 2 to this video. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have yet to subscribe, please do. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and want more like it. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.